Today was NBA trade deadline.
Yep. 3 o'clock today.
3 o'clock. I thought it was 4 o'clock.
It came
5
to
o'clock.
3 o'clock.
It was 5 o'clock.
3 p.m. today.
It happened. It's come. It's gone. And we have a bunch of trades. So instead of going, this source and this source to gather all the trade news, we're gonna get them all in one convenient location just for you guys.
Elevated Sports.
Elevated Sports has all of your NBA trade deadline news.
Yes. It it started off a little slow. Like, usually the days leading up to it, you have your rumors, you have some trades being made, you have an idea of what's going to happen. So it wasn't looking very promising at the beginning of the week until yesterday. Capella was kind of the first guy that was really in deep trade talks. You heard about Atlanta pushing for him, and then you heard Boston enters the chat when it comes to trying to land Capella. And this is what we get. We actually end up getting a 4-team trade between Houston, Minnesota, Atlanta, and Denver. Okay, so what Houston receives from this trade is they receive Robert Covington from Minnesota. Defensive threat, he can shoot lights out. Kind of entering the back half of his career, had a good season with Philly last year. Definitely kind of fits into what Houston's trying to accomplish. Obviously they shoot the ball at a high rate, and considering they're going with a small lineup, they need kind of those guys that are going to definitely be able to defend on the perimeter, and Covington can do that. And from what I saw from their projected lineup, they're probably going to have him at the 4, which he's normally played the 2 or 3. So that would be interesting. Then you have Capella and Nene go to Atlanta, which I like that, getting two big guys to kind of build around Trae Young. Obviously shoots the ball a lot. It's good to have rebounders on a team in which you have a point guard that shoots a lot. So I like that move. And Capella's the guy that's kind of really entering his prime, even though he's not a superstar, but very reliable big man. And honestly, I mean, I saw him as kind of the perfect fit with James Harden. The two of them in the pick and roll were pretty well. They worked out pretty well. But obviously Houston wants to go a different direction.
Right.
I'm not totally understanding Mark D'Antoni. We talked a little bit about it on a different episode about what they're trying to, PJ Tucker at the 5 doesn't really work. At the end of the day, it may work now, but when the playoffs come, it's not going to work.
Right.
Think about who you're trying to beat in the West if you're Houston. Both LA teams. And if you were to somehow miraculously get out of the West, who are you talking about in the East? Milwaukee and Philly. All 4 of those teams, you need size to beat them. Houston doesn't have that. So, personally, I think Atlanta wins this trade. Landon Capella. Covington, good piece for Houston, but it's not going to work out in the long run. And then Minnesota, they get Malik Beasley, Juancho Hernan-Gomez, and Evan Turner, all from Atlanta. Obviously, we'll be talking about Minnesota in a minute with D'Angelo Russell, but Minnesota definitely entering into rebuild, and D'Angelo Russell kind of leading the charge on that. So I don't really have any problem with what Minnesota did. And then Denver gets Gerald Green from Houston, who Gerald Green, he can shoot the ball. He's a veteran. Definitely, will be utilized on that young Denver team that's going to be making a push for a conference finals appearance. So all in all, who do I think wins this trade out of the 4 teams? Personally, I would say Atlanta. I think Gerald Green with Denver is probably highly underrated.
Right.
I think that will do them very good in the long term and in the playoffs. So that's the first one. Then we got your boy Iguodala. Was on your Warriors for quite some time. Finals MVP. Is in Miami now. And if you'll eventually watch our Take the Shot episode, because this will be coming out before then. Will it?
Well, it's uploading right now. So
okay, so they'll see the Take the Shot video before they see it. If you see the Take the Shot video before this, you posed a question to me. Will Iguodala play in the NBA again after the whole Memphis fiasco? I said I take the shot, and I also said he's going to be in for 2 more years. I was correct on both. Goes to Miami. Also signs a 2-year extension, $30 million a year. Personally, actually, let me break down the trade real quick for you guys. Iguodala goes to Miami. Justice Winslow is. Come on. Come on.
Memphis, right?
Justice Winslow goes to Memphis. And then there actually is more pieces to this trade. Deion Waiters and James Johnson go to Memphis.
Right.
Jay Crowder and Solomon Hill are in the package with Iguodala.
To go to Miami. Yeah. Yep, Bill, there you have it. There you have it. There's your trade deadline.
Jay Crowder and Solomon Hill are on their way to Miami with Andre Iguodala. And then what Memphis did...
Can you keep it together? We're trying to run a serious YouTube channel here, and you're laughing.
Memphis immediately traded James Johnson off to...
What was it?
I have it. Off to Minnesota.
Minnesota is making
Minnesota
a lot of
has
trades.
been on the move. They traded him for Gorgie Deng, so he's in Memphis. And then you had OKC involved in this. That this was going to be a 3-team trade, and OKC was going to come in, and Miami was going to land Danilo Gallinari from OKC, which would have been a great move for Miami, but OKC was not able to pull the trigger on that. Personally, because I think they liked the core that they got. The Lakers were trying to make a move for Dennis Schroeder, and supposedly OKC they had a very big asking price for Schroeder. Which I could see that because he's really been he's been the leader of their second unit on that
Right.
team, been a big part of their success. So let's talk about Iguodala real quick. I think this is a good move for Miami, kind of similar to Gerald Green going to Denver. Young team there in Miami. You got guys like Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. And then you look at their bench, a very good second unit. Just watching this team last night against the Clippers. Iguodala really could be that driving force, on the second unit. And you have a lot of guys on that team that are very versatile in the sense that they can start or they can play in the second unit. They're pretty complete top to bottom. And I think Iguodala fits perfectly into that. He's got the finals experience. He's got the playoff experience. I almost see him as kind of like he can be that guy that kind of keeps Jimmy Butler in line a little bit.
He's like the mentor.
A little bit, because Butler's ego can sometimes get there for good reason. But I think Iguodala can kind of be he could be the voice of reason on that team. So I think that is a good move for Miami. I don't necessarily agree with the extension. That's $15 million a year they're paying Iguodala.
That is a lot of money.
And you got a lot of young guys you're going to probably try to keep. And I just don't think Iguodala is worth that much. I think you keep him at least this year.
Right.
See where the team goes with it, and then move on from there. But at the end of the day, I think it will work out for Miami.
All right, they kind of put all their eggs in one basket.
Yeah, but I mean, Pat Riley has proved that he's still viewed the Heat are still viewed as an underdog this season, even though they've been playing great. Even though they've been better than Philly, when we get to playoff times, people are going to be talking about Milwaukee and Philly. Pat Riley believes that his team can beat either of those teams. That's why he's putting all his chips on the table this year. He believes in those guys, and even in the years to come, they've got a really bright future there. Next trade, D'Angelo Russell, the guy from the Warriors.
So I really like D'Angelo Russell. I was thrilled when the Warriors picked him up this offseason. But with Clay and Steph on the team, you kind of figured he wasn't going to play a forward position. And this is probably going to be a short-term deal. They're going to utilize him the first half and then send him off. And that's exactly what they did. The Warriors traded D'Angelo Russell, Amari Spellman, and Jacob Evans to the Minnesota Timberwolves. In return, they got Andrew Wiggins. I like that. I like that a lot. Especially since they lost Durant. He's a good forward that they can place there. They get a 2021 first round pick
Yep.
and a 2022 second round pick. So, honestly, I'm not too mad about that. You know, D'Angelo Russell, he was a great player. I'll miss him. Jacob Evans was drafted a year or two ago, and it just has been a failed experiment with him.
Yeah.
And then Amari Spellman, whatever.
Yeah.
But Wiggins is good value. I could have seen like a Wiggins D'Lo trade 1-on-1.
Yeah.
I could have seen that going. So the fact that they were able to get like 2021 first round pick and the 2022 second round pick for Spellman and Evans, I feel like that's really good value.
Yeah.
For the Warriors.
For sure. And you also got to think in terms of they have roster spots open as well, considering they got off 3 guys,
Right.
returned 1, and the other 2 were draft picks.
Right.
So they have room to work right now. And I was looking at the lineup with Wiggins in it. It's very similar to the Warriors before Kevin Durant. You know, you had Curry, Thompson, Harrison Barnes, Draymond Green,
Right.
and Andrew Bogut. Now you've got Curry, Thompson, Wiggins, Draymond, and Kevon Looney. It's a very similar structured lineup to that original Warriors team, the start of the dynasty, whatever.
Not a big team, but
yeah. And then also you got to think that they're going to have a very high draft pick, if not the number 1 draft pick this year. And then you've got an additional 2021 first rounder, and then the 2022 first rounder. So I definitely think the Warriors win this trade, as much as it hurts me to say.
they've positioned themselves for the future.
They have.
They have realized that this year is not going to end well, no matter what happens. And I think that's a big reason they're going to keep Curry out for the whole rest of the month of February. They're not worried about winning this season.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr's not worried. He's not going to lose his job. Yeah, they're just kind of cruising at this point.
They are, and when the Warriors come back to full strength, I don't think they're going to be the Warriors of the old.
No.
Because what the thing is now, since the dynasty has kind of happened, teams have been able to structure themselves to beat the Warriors. And now that the Warriors aren't great, we talked about how Curry's supposedly more influential than LeBron or whatever. But because of their, style of play, shooting the 3, now a lot of teams have kind of ushered in that style of offense. And so now it's almost like the Warriors just kind of seem, like even at full strength, they just kind of seem evenly balanced with these top teams because they've structured themselves to match what they did.
Right.
So that's the way I see it. Any other thoughts on the Warriors or Minnesota?
No.
Minnesota did a lot.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. You can look at Minnesota and think maybe there's a bright future there, but they have a long track record of having that potential and just kind of blowing it. So I'm not too sold on
at
them.
one point, Wiggins was supposed to be that guy.
Wiggins was supposed to be that guy. Kevin Love was supposed to be that guy. And really the only success you saw from the Timberwolves was when Jimmy Butler was leading that team. And all they got was an 8 seed. Or was it a 7? It was an 8 or 7 or 8 seed that year that they got